It's 1945. I'm standing on Bury, at the northern end of the recently completed Churchill Barrier No. 4, looking towards South Ronaldsay. On either side of the causeway is water sound. The east and west sides are now separate, and the prevailing tidal current from the east is now blocked. It has nowhere to go. You can see the blocks on the west side of the barrier, and a few on the east side, just above the level of the road. Also on the east side are 3 block ships, Carron, Pontus and Collindock. They've done their work and now are redundant. Step forward 75 years, looking from the same vantage point. The west side of the barrier looks no different, but the east side has changed beyond all recognition. There is very little water, there are no blocks and there are no block ships. In those 75 years, the tidal current, now with nowhere to go, has deposited and continues to deposit sand from the east side of Orkney. Where once was water is now a substantial area of land. On the east side, the sea is now 400 metres from the barrier, and Bury and South Ronaldsay can share at least 250,000 square metres of new land. And here we are at the southern end of the fourth barrier. Just look at the amount of sand that has accumulated. 75 years ago, all of this was the sea, water sound. You may just be able to see the last remains of the block ship Collindock. Now let's just take a look at some of the plants that have helped stabilise and create this new area. Some of the first plants to colonise the shifting sands are the araches, and in Orkney we've got 5 different species, and here we've got the glistening frosted arache. Another plant that helps in the formation of dunes by binding the sand with its leaves and roots is silverweed. Two of the most effective stabilisers of sand are sea lime grass and marram grass. In the foreground here we've got the sea lime grass, a very stately plant with its blue-grey glaucous leaves. And a little further inland, on the slightly more stable dunes, we've got the much slenderer marram grass. And here's another plant that helps stabilise the shifting sands, and it's one of the special plants of the fourth barrier. It's oyster plant, and Orkney is this plant's stronghold in Britain. And within Orkney it's well known from South Ronaldsay's sandy endearness, and it does occur elsewhere, but records have been sporadic and intermittent. It has been seen on North Ronaldsay, Westray, Stronsay, Edy, Egglesey and Rowsey, but except for North Ronaldsay, it hasn't been seen recently. In fact, the only records we have for North Ronaldsay are in the last 7 years. Was it there before then? We'll probably never know. Because its seeds have the ability to survive prolonged immersion in salt water, it could turn up on any sand and shingle beach in Orkney. Here's your chance to find it and submit records to the local record centre. After those pioneering plants have done their jobs by fixing the loose sand, it gives the opportunity for other plants to grow in the more stable areas. The resulting dune grassland supports plants such as white clover, red clover and common cat's ear, bird's foot trefoil, meadow vetchling, bush vetch, tufted vetch. Dunes and dune grassland are good places to search for the common blue butterfly, where its caterpillars feed on bird's foot trefoil, tufted vetch, bush vetch, meadow vetchling, white clover and red clover. There was a survey of common blue butterflies between 1994 and 1997 which indicated that Orkney's present population seemed to be mainly coastal. The survey also highlighted how few records there were for the North Isles. There were just a handful of records for Egglesey, Rousey, Sandy and North Ronaldsay in that period, and none for any of the other North Isles. Dunes and dune grasslands with their rich array of flowers are good places to search for one of the UK's scarcest bumblebees, the great yellow bumblebee. Orkney is a stronghold for this bee, but even here, though it's considered to be widespread, it's also very scarce. In fact, it's the rarest of Orkney's bumblebees. A survey in the year 2000 helped us understand a little bit more about where it occurred and what plants it fed on. In that year, great yellow bumblebees weren't found on Egglesey, Wyre, Papa Westry, Shappensey or Edy. Since then, records have been a little bit more forthcoming, but there's still a huge gap in our knowledge of its occurrence in the county.